Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. We'll get right into questions.
TJ, just starting with your offense, how do you dissect that?
First of all, you got to give credit, like I said at the end of the game, you got to give credit to Bowling Green. I mean, they came in here and played really, really well and won the football game. We didn't play well on offense at all, and you can talk about all different parts of it. 100% starts with me, 100% of it. Chris went down after the second play, and most of the game plan was directed towards him, right, get him very involved in it. Dalen didn't play much in that game. So, again, it was a little bit, and then we didn't hit some shots, early. And when you miss those, all right, we got to get pretty simple pretty quick and just get back to what we're doing, especially what they were doing defensively, which, again, that's why you have to give them credit, too, because I think the simpler we were, the better chance we were going to have to win the football game. And, especially with us not being able to hit some of the things we tried to hit early. So, again, did not play well enough. It's unacceptable, right, of the way we played on offense, right? And but, again, you got to give them credit as well. So, but it wasn't a very good performance. We've had 4 games of data, right? And 3 of those 4, we've scored 30-plus points in each of those 3 games, right, especially against the top 5 team in the country at the time. So I don't sit there and overreact about one game's data when there's certain things outside your control that go on. But, again, I didn't do a good enough job of getting back on track. And so that's where – and they took advantage of it. And, you miss a field goal and some other things happen. And, they stay in the game. And next thing you know, you don't win the game.
What do you think has been the biggest issue for the offensive line when it comes to picking up stunts?
Are you talking, again, there's 4 games of data, right? But I think when you look at this game, we struggled at times. We've faced stunts and twists in the other games, too. And I think we've been really good with a lot of that. But I there's a lot that goes involved in that. It's the proper identification of the ID, right? It's the proper protection slide at the appropriate time. Those go into it as well. So this isn't about just the O-line. This isn't about just the quarterback. This isn't about just the wideouts or just the running backs. In this particular game, it's about all of us, right? All of us. And again, starting with me. Coaches have to be able to put ourselves in a position to be really successful, and I didn't do that.
You mentioned you weren't aggressive enough for getting you back on track. What do you mean with back on track offensively in that context?
We needed to be able to hit. We needed to hit some down the field shots, and the ones we attempted, we didn't hit, and they put us behind the chains. And I thought our defense was playing really well, right? And part of the reason you go to the 4th down call is because they're playing really well. Worst case scenario, maybe it's a touchdown, okay, but it's early enough in the game where we had to get something going. I had to show our team we had to get something going. And so back on track is just completions, and we weren't able to even do that. And so then it's like, all right, well, we got to get back on track in the run game, and we've got to be able to do X, Y, and Z in the run game. And it might not look fancy, but we've got to be able to get first downs, run the football. But we weren't able to get the ball across the line. That's the ultimate dissection of the game. We weren't able to score points. So,
you mentioned Dalen. What was his situation?
Nothing. He'll be okay. The way the game plan intended of what we were doing, and with Crab back in there, and nothing in particular, really.
When you look at Purdue coming up, you just played in Bowling Green. You got 2 spreaded out offenses. Are you a little bit grateful that you played Bowling Green's offense before you take on Purdue?
Yeah, they spread you all over the field. We all know that, and they're very good at what they do, and they have playmakers everywhere. And they spread everybody out and make you play in space and tackle in space, but also cover the field vertically. They've got, I said this in the preseason, I said they've got some of the best receiving corps, maybe one of the best receiving corps in the country. Now, I'm not sure how many of them are going to play, but it doesn't matter. They have tons of them. And they do a really good job of getting everybody the football, and they're much improved, from where they were even last year. And they've continued to get better and better. And they get consistent quarterback play. I know something is out there about he doesn't know which quarterback he's going to play, but they're both really good. I mean, they're throwing for 67% plus, both of them, 167, 169. So, and they both played a ton of football too, and they know that system inside and out. So, I mean, they're really good. They run the ball well and efficiently. So, they make you cover the whole field. That's what Purdue's always done. That's what Jeff's offense always makes you do is cover the entire field.
How much has Coney Durr's leadership impacted your defense?
Well, I think he's, I definitely, he's a guy who's played a ton of football. And I think, when you look at our football team, and we got a lot of guys who have played a lot of football, and you rely on those guys to be able to lead your football team as a player-led team, right? You want to be able to see that. But I think it's just based on his experience. He's not the loudest guy. He's not going to be the first one to rah-rah into something, but he's going to do it based on his performance and how hard he works. Guys played a lot of football here, and when your best players are your hardest workers, you have that. That's your culture's really taking set. Whether you win or lose, but Coney's one of those guys that he's a lead by action type guy, and if he has to open his mouth, he definitely will.
We saw Cole Kramer come in for some spot duty and success on both of his carries. How did that package come together?
Well, yeah, I mean, the package really originally started with Muhammad Ibrahim and Trey, and then Mo goes down, and we even had some stuff like that with Crab, and then Crab went down, and then so now you kind of start to look at how could we find a way to be able to still do those types of things with who we have on our football team, and Cole gives us that ability to do it. They have a true quarterback that can run, and he can also throw the football, and I think that's what Seth always gave us the ability to do, and we feel like Cole, as he continues to grow, will evolve even more into that role as he goes forward.
Was that D'Angelo Carter's best game, and was that the best game you've seen from the D-line so far this year?
Yeah, listen, that's a great evaluation because I think it was. I mean, I think Trill has done a great job of just getting better every single day, putting his head down, growing on the field, off the field. He's really good at his technique right now. He's using it to his advantage. He's not the biggest guy, but he plays with such pad level and such explosion and how and willingness. He's a very active player, and this was by far I think his best game of the year. And then the D line again, it's rotating a lot of bodies in there, and I think that's helping us right now. I think when you look at Thomas Rush and Boye snaps over the last game, it was 29 and 28, pretty split. So. It's helped us to have depth there for sure.
When you look at the penalties on field goal block, covering up the center,
Yeah.
how do you look at that breakdown?
Yeah, it's a hard penalty. We all know the rules, right? Our players know the rules, which is good. We actually have a guy that calls out off the center, right? So we have a Mike linebacker who says that it's a call built in, and then when you look at it, it's we got to do a better job, obviously, of coaching it, truly, right? That's what it comes down to. But, I mean, he's really it's hard to say if he's really on or off, right? It's kind of like riding a line in a lane. You could touch the white line or not. Like, his left shoulder is really close, and I can see why it was called. I could see it also not being called, right? And those splits are really tight down there. And if you look at the head of the center, he's not covered, right? But that center's left shoulder, his left shoulder to Val's left shoulder, we're touching, and we just got to make sure it's even more detailed than that, and it's simple. And that's why I said, we've done the same. We've had a lot of the same blocks the entire year, and with the call, and it hasn't been called in that situation. But again. He might have felt he was, he wasn't on the center. Which obviously, he felt that way. But the ref felt differently that he was on the center. And that's where I come back that we have to teach it even better because you can't leave, 1% of gray area. And if you do, I mean, it's going to get called, obviously, and it did. It's unfortunate. But that's why I said that it comes back on me, the whole thing. Your objective of the game is to go win the game. And when you don't win the game, why didn't you win the game? And there's numerous reasons why we didn't win the game. Taking nothing away from Bowling Green, but there are numerous reasons we didn't win the football game. And all those reasons point back to me.
Do you feel like the interior push of your defensive line has been an X factor for your pass rush?
I think so. I think so. I mean, we're, pass rush, again, a few weeks ago, we didn't have a pass rush. Now, we're 4 games in, and you just asked a question about our pass rush, right? So every game's its own entity. But I do believe that to really have really good outside pressure, you've got to have really stout inside pressure, narrowing the running lanes for any type of step up or escape of the pocket. I think any team would probably say the same thing. If a quarterback can take his drop, step up in the pocket, and allow the edge rushers to go by, you're not as effective. So I think having our interior guys present some type of pressure, lane integrity as well, allows our pass rushers to be what they can be. But then they have to be really good pass rushers. You can't just rush past the quarterback. You can't be deeper than the quarterback, right? You got to keep at the quarterback's level and come back inside and keep him contained. So there's a lot of things built within the pass rush. But I think the interior guys have a lot to do with it, just with any football team, not just ours.
One or two more for Coach?
What's the biggest thing you want to see from your offense this week in practice as they try to respond to what happened Saturday?
We just got to get better, right? And I think there's a lot of – I'm never one to overreact about one game. And again, we're always going to talk about it's one game. We have a one-game season, right? Always. We want to be 1-0 in the Bowling Green season. It did not work out. It's unfortunate, right? And there's a lot of reasons why that happened. But what we talked about right when we got back in there on Sunday was – whether we win or lose, we say the same thing, right? Whether we win or lose, no matter who we win or lose to, we come in on Sunday, we either celebrate the win, right? Or we forget about the loss, right? And we put our leather vests on and go right back to work. And that's the mentality of those one-game seasons. As hard as it is to get over, you get over it and you move on. And you put your oar back in the water and you row and you grow. And that's what the loss really means in our program. It's learn. You have to have loss to have winning. And you have to be able to respect losing to win. And our team has, like I said, they've won games they weren't supposed to. They've lost games that they were supposed to win. And everything in between. I'm not sure in the first 4 games I've had a team have more of a maybe an inconsistent spectrum, right, of the Ohio State game to the Bowling Green game. And then the Colorado game after the Miami game, right? Playing the number 4 team in the country and being within basically one possession, right? And maybe one penalty away from really making that all the way to the end and see what happens. Not only that, then going to Miami, Ohio, having a lead, losing the lead, and then finishing the game, right? And knowing how explosive plays can beat you, even though you play really well all game long, 3 explosive plays can beat you. And then being an underdog at Colorado and creating a shutout when everybody, everybody's narrative was all about the defense. What's wrong with the defense? 1-game season, defense posts a shutout, right? And the offense scores 30 points and nothing said about the offense, right? And then we go into a Bowling Green game that we're favored. Okay, it doesn't matter how much you're favored by, right? But we don't play well, and we get beat. And now you have this. You've seen all of it. And there's nothing better for a team to see than to see all of it heading into league play, right? And I know we've already played 1 league game, but really we've had 4 games, and really they have no factor on the Big Ten West championship. At the end of the day, right? Those 4 games, they taught us. We learned a lot about who we were, what we have to do, what adjustments we have to make moving forward. What we're able to get away with, what we're not able to get away with, how more creative we have to be and less creative we have to be, what adjustments we have to be able to make, what do we have to do with the personnel that we have, right? If we don't have X, Y, and Z on the field, even offensively, your 2 best players are out, right? And I'm not going to sit there and say that doesn't affect you, right? As you have 3 tailbacks that can all do it. They're just young freshmen. And then the wideouts that are in there are freshmen as well. But they're going to get better, and they're going to keep getting better. They're going to keep growing, and we're the ones that are going to help fix that, right? And I just want them to grow, learn, keep responding, and not worry about just, I have to win, or I don't want to not lose, right? Forget about all that. This program's just built on getting better. Just change your best. Think how boring our interviews were in 2019. You're just like, what do you do? We're going to change our best. And they're the same thing. We're just going to change our best. The result wasn't what everybody else wanted, and not what our team wanted, not what our coaches wanted, but we've learned a ton from that film. And it's our job to go apply that in the next game, right? And go do everything we can to be 1-0 in the Purdue season and take everything we learned from our past to create our future. And that's going to be our focus as we move forward. Simple.
One final one for Coach.
What's the status with Crab and chances of playing Saturday?
Yeah, he practiced last night, so that's a really good sign. So I mean, he was out there last night running around with the wideouts and catching balls and doing all that stuff. So again, I don't have the control of who's in the game, who's out of the game medically. You know, who gets pulled, who doesn't. You know, I don't have any control of that whatsoever. I think our trainers do an amazing job of keeping all of our players safe and healthy, and they felt that it was not right for him to go back into the game for his health and safety. And it's simple. That's done after that. Then we get to practice, and if he's allowed to practice, he practices. And last night they allowed him to practice. So, but that's a good sign.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, everybody. Row the boat, Sky Ma, go Gophers. Thank you.